Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
If you would have told me that Julianna Pena would have grappled and eventually choked out Amanda Nunes to win the women's bantamweight championship, some people, they might have believed you. But if you were to say that Julianna Pena would stand her ground, get into a firefight, absolutely fatigue, not necessarily drop, but jab to death Amanda Nunes, get her tired, take her down, take her back, and choke her to sleep, I don't know how many people would have believed you, man. We got a couple of photos in that first round where Nunes is smiling, dominating. Next thing you know, Julianna Pena shocks the world, my man. Listen, we got to eat some crow here on this show. I know I do, definitely. I know if you ask the majority of the MMA media, everybody eating crow this time around. But that was a crazy story, and that is why we love mixed martial arts right here, folks, because the story is not always written in stone, not etched in stone. Anything can happen. The craziest upsets can happen, and that's what happened this Saturday night at UFC 269. My name is Derick G. I am your host, and checking in with me is my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, AJ. Brother, have we seen a bigger upset, my man? Are you still reeling from the craziness of Saturday night? I know Charles Oliveira, he defended his belt, he choked out Dustin Poirier, but that is a complete, that's being overlooked, absolutely, because Pena right now did something, man, that I think is up there with the Matt Serras of the world when he upset George St. Pierre. Now the question will become, Amanda Nunes will really be the GOAT if she gets this rematch and she can bounce back, but if she cannot get the win, Julianna Pena has done something absolutely incredible, my man. Talk me through it. Well, how are you feeling?
Man, Derick, there's been a lot of times on this program where I've said I was speechless, I was in awe, agape looking at the screen. This time I was legitimately flabbergasted. Watching the fight, that was the best word I could write down for my notes, was flabbergasted, because this was crazy, man. Julianna Pena shocked the entire world. 1% of people on Verdict were choosing the submission. Nobody was choosing that she was going to get in a firefight. I think you were very apt in that statement saying not a damn person was thinking that she was going to be jabbing the face off Amanda Nunes, having the look that Amanda Nunes gives people of those eyes wide. That's what we were seeing from the GOAT, or the GOATess. And it was, man, it was a crazy night of fights, bro.
It was a crazy night of fights, and right now, as I have it, we had 6 of 14 bouts were upsets on the card, my man. Starting early with the prelims, went really heavy into the main card. 3 of the 5 fights that opened up, you know what I mean, for the opening odds, ended up in an upset, my man. So once again, this is kind of back-to-back weeks. That was the same thing for UFC Vegas 44, right? We had a lot of crazy upsets, and we're thinking, okay, rough night at the office. Let's rebound. UFC 269. Generally, main cards for pay-per-view bouts are pretty chalky. But once again, man, that's why we always got to stay on our toes. So let's do a little bit of a record recap, my man. I went 3-2 on the night. 2-3 for you, brother. Rough one. You know what I'm saying? Right when we need it the most, right at the end of the year. But at the end of the day, how can you predict this one? Because we both got the championship bouts wrong. So I guess the ones that really counted, we dropped the ball on. So we definitely have a lot to talk about there. But the one that you missed out on that was a kind of it was the couple of fights leading up to those championship fights was the Cody Garbrant fight, my man, versus Car France. Car France did something that I think many people expected him to do. And the reason why is because from the press conference, right, AJ, and we put in our picks before the press conference, we put in our picks before we get to see a little bit more context on how the fighters are feeling. Cody Garbrant looked way too concerned with the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley, and a future potential bout with him than he did with, the person right in front of him. I don't want to say that he was playing with his food, because that might not be a correct way to look at this, but I definitely think he overlooked Car France, and Car France made him pay for it. How do you feel about Car France spoiling Cody Garbrant's flyweight debut?
Man, Car France put on his demonstration of his power for me, man. That's what, and to me, I think that Cody Garbrant showed up with a good chin. He was, he was rocking well until he caught 6, 7, 8 of those on the button, and then that chin can only hold on for so long, man. Car France looked really good, looked really fast, and showed why it's hard to cut that much weight and still be powerful, still be strong as you are. You're just depleted so heavily. Car France looked like a natural 125 in there, smooth, hitting hard, very impressive fight for him.
And believe it or not, Car France, he's a former bantamweight himself. However, he's been at flyweight for the past 8-9 fights, so a little bit different. Cody Garbrant, this was his first time. I still think he has a future at 125. You know what I mean? He didn't look as depleted as I thought. But this is Garbrant's second knockout win in a row, second knockout win in the UFC. He moves to 6-2 in the UFC, and he's calling for a title fight next. So we'll talk about that there in a second. Folks, we had 6 performance bonuses of the night, so let's cap them off. Obviously, Charles Oliveira choking out Poirier, retaining his belt, first title defense, performance of the night, obviously. Julianna Pena, I don't even need to say anything. Performance of the night, clearly. Garbrant dropping Cody Garbrant twice, you know what I mean? I got a picture, man, that's going to be really indicative of the fear that you saw when a man is like, oh no, this is happening again. Like, performance of the night, once again. Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley, my man. I said it, right, when we were talking about it in the preview. Exactly, like a little golf clap for you right there. If you're listening, folks, we're giving a nice little golf clap. But with the Sugar Show, we said, people are probably going to be like, oh, these dudes are overhyping him. Oh, they think he's so good, da-da-da-da-da, grappling this, grappling that, whatever. Listen, man, dude came in. He showed up with the rib injury, that he didn't talk about, which I respect, because no excuses in there. He had to do a baby bit of grappling. Was able to get out of the grasp of Paiva, and the precision was on point, my man. He really put it to Paiva. Clearly, we'll talk about it a little bit more in a second, but that's a performance of the night bonus, AJ. So don't give me any words on that, my man. Just let's golf clap one more time and just take it in, my man. That was a great performance. Tai Tuivasa, hot seat. He was in the hot seat. There was a lot of pressure, but he put it to Augusto Sakai, and he showed that, listen, man, he's ready for the moment. The second chance is really the fairy tale run for Tai Tuivasa. Bam Bam is killing it, entertaining as ever, man. Shoeys all day. My question to you, because I got a photo for that, we'll talk about that in a second, my man. I think this dude, Tuivasa, and the guy he brings with him, it's the same shoe. I feel like back-to-back fights or something, right? So it's like, you can't wash the shoe. That's a nasty-ass shoe. It's got spit, hot sauce, alcohol, foot sweat. Oh, man. Listen, man, don't give me a take either. Like I said, we'll talk about it in a second. But just give me real quick, my man. What do you think the odds are that is the same shoe, that the shoe is not getting changed out?
Oh, pretty high. I know it's the same homie. It's one of the Nelk boys out there, so it's pretty high, man. I'm going 8 out of 10 right there.
Listen, man, you got to be a different breed. That's why you got a different level of antibodies and immunity in there, man. Taking that right there. But lastly, for fight of the night, Bruno Silva, my sleeper. One of the sleepers in that matchup, man. He made quick work of the Beverly Hills Ninja, which is not an easy thing to do. Him and Joaquin Buckley are the only ones to do it so far in their career. So performance of the night, and Pedro Muniz versus Dominic Cruz closes out as a fight of the night, which was a very competitive back and forth matchup. Excuse me, folks. So with that being said, Dana White was feeling generous. He was throwing out a lot of money, my man. That means that this was a really, really good card and a good way to close out the last pay-per-view of 2021. But AJ, we need to talk about some ranking recap before we move into anything. So, folks, let me just single myself out for a second. Listen, we appreciate you, as always. Drop a like, subscribe. If you like the segments that we're putting out, always decide to share it with your friends, share it on Twitter, whatever the case may be. We're starting to put a little bit more of a presence on Twitter, so, you can always feel free to connect with us there at Bloody Water Pod, on Instagram at Bloody Water Podcast, or hit up our website for the hub for everything at BloodyWaterPodcast.com. That's basically the spiel. Is basically how we're going. You know what time it is. We rock with you. We always in the comments. You dig. AJ, my man, he's over there, man, over there checking the comments from time to time. But listen, we interact and we love it. We love it. Come on, what else we got to say? AJ, am I right?
Ooh, hit the nail on the head, Derick. We love it. We love the interaction, positive, negative. Let us know when to hold ourselves accountable. Let us know what you love. Let us know what you see. Let us know how much money you making out there, too. This week was a little rough for me, but Derick was hitting on that above 50%. Mm-hmm. You got to cash that check.
Absolutely. And if you're thinking about over and unders, 3-2 for me on the over and unders, 2-3. So you kind of matched your record for the over and unders. You came really close on one of them, man. You got cut off by like 30 seconds on one of the over and unders. But listen, we'll talk about all that in a second. Let's talk about a little bit of a rankings dispute, my man. I think this time around, though, we're going to have to take ourselves into the middleweight division. Let's talk about it. So, my man, AJ, the middleweight division is a stacked division, and we know this. And if we're kind of rounding out the division and we're looking at the number 14s, number 15s of the middleweight division, we got a couple people right now who probably aren't going to be there in the upcoming future in this next update to the ranking. So in the UFC's consensus rankings, at 14, you have Kevin Trailblazer Holland. Now, he has already announced that he is moving down to welterweight. He hasn't taken the fight yet, and in the UFC's official rankings, he is still there. However, I think that is going to be apt to change. At number 15, you have a man who's on a 3-fight losing streak in Edmund Shabazian. The Golden Boy had a lot of hype, but right now, he's not putting his money where his mouth is, at least performance-wise. So So at number 15, I still think somebody could take his place. And the person that I want to talk about is a man who's ranked kind of about number 22 in the world right now. He's won 3 straight fights via armbar submission. He's 3-1 or 3-0 in the UFC, I believe. I believe he's undefeated in the UFC, 4-0. Actually, I take that back. And the man's name is Andre Muniz. Listen, AJ, this should have got a performance bonus as well, but there were so many good performances that it couldn't. He got a first-round armbar finish over Eryk, your boy, Anders, and we talked about how we were both giving Anders the edge there. I thought that he'd be able to get in that half-guard position, just be a little bit too strong, too dominating for Muniz to be able to do that, but we've clearly seen that the next generation of a incredible BJJ specimen mixed with great stand-up and overall physicality has arrived, and his name is Andre Muniz. So my question to you, AJ, the man opened up, I believe. No, he opened up as a favorite. He was a favorite in this fight. But the point is, should he be number 15? That is the spiel here. That is the rankings review. Neither of us have him in our top 15. He was ranked in number 15 by the UFC a couple months ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe after that Jacare win. But either way, number 15 and number 14 are kind of open in the UFC consensus. For me, I have Holland at 14, Brad Tavares at 15. I think I can move up Tavares to 14 and then just insert Muniz at 15. For you, you have Omari Akhmadov at 14, and you have Sean Strickland at 15. So that begs the question, because Kevin Holland is at 11 and Shabazian is at 12 for you. Do you think Muniz should fit into that 15 spot? Do you think right now, if Edmund Shabazian and Andre Muniz fought, who would win?
At the moment, man, I'm pushing Muniz on this one. And this whole card, man, the middleweight division is one of the, we've always been saying the lightweights and the 145-pound class, they're like the most stacked. But this card right here proved that the middleweight division is up and coming, man. They got some serious bangers. I forget how many middleweight fights are on this one or how many killers are in this card, but it's quite a few. I think 3, 4, something like that. But either way, does Muniz deserve number 15? I think so, man. I got to move. I was looking at my list right here, too. I got to move Sean Strickland up a little bit. Homeboy's been doing some work. Got to drop down Edmund Shabazian. I even think Brad Tavares at this moment beats Edmund Shabazian. Amari Akhmadov, we'll see on that one. I think Amari might be able to get Muniz going, but I do think Muniz is right about that 15 level, seeing where he can go up. There's a lot of room for this kid to grow. Full undefeated, killer on the arm bars. Yeah, I think he deserves a little bit of more shine than he's getting. It's hard in this kind of UFC card when there's so many people getting the shine, but I do think Muniz does deserve some of his own for sure.
No, I hear you, and yeah, I definitely think we need a little bit of an update because I got Strickland at 6, you got him at 15, my man. So a big discrepancy there. But so like you were saying, you said with the 145ers and the lightweights are the most stacked class. I think we're thinking about 135ers, the bantamweights, and the lightweights. I think those are the most stacked classes. Featherweight's still up there, but middleweight. I mean, listen, you got some killers at middleweight. So that's kind of the question right there: is where exactly will he land? For you, 15, do you think that's the cap for him? Because I don't know, man. If I have Shabazian at 13 and I think Muniz could beat Shabazian, then why not put him at 13? Like I said, Kevin Holland is pretty much about to get removed from the middleweight ranking at all. I'll just put him either non-ranked in the welterweight until he wins a fight there, because he hasn't won a fight in welterweight in quite some time. Or, listen, man, we'll just see what happens. But the real question, though, AJ, is I want to know, I can understand in your rankings where you see him going, but in the UFC's, do you think he can hit that number 14 and surpass Kevin Holland and Edmund Shabazian?
In the UFC rankings, I think so, man. And just on the skid that Shabazian's having, if they're kicking out Holland for for dropping down the next weight class, I don't see them moving Shabazian up because of that. I do think that Muniz would kind of slip in a little bit right there, especially because of the skid, like I said, that Shabazian's on right now.
Okay, right on. And then my last question before we exit this rankings dispute, this rankings review right here, my man. What is the future of an Andre Muniz? Do you think the man listen, like he feels like he's going to be a great in the sport the way that he's just dominating his opponents right now. It's kind of like Bruno Silva walking through his opponents and you're just like, God damn, man, like what's happening here? But at a higher level, because Eryk Anders has often been not necessarily a gatekeeper, but a test to say, like, are you kind of a legit prospect? Like, are you ready to contend? And if you could beat Eryk Anders, my man, that says a lot. Right now, as it stands, I believe Eryk Anders is ranked. He's unranked, obviously, and like legit rankings. But Eryk Anders was, I guess I don't even have a number next to it. He's somewhere up there, my man. You know what I mean? He's like a very respected number right now. He's not like number 50 in the world or anything. So what do you think?
Yeah, he's Eryk Anders is definitely a test, like a good, solid, like I forget the name of the test where it measures how good you are next to the people. But for Andre Muniz, his future, where does his future lie? A lot of people, they like to shout, you know, I'm going to be the champ right away. I'm going to be the champ. But I think we just need to see a little bit more from Muniz going forward. Yeah, he's slick in submissions. But once you get into that 15, 10, 5 level category of fighter, it's the knockouts start dropping off less. The tap outs start dropping off less. So if you're really that slick and we see it coming up in these next couple fights, then I'd be able to say that Muniz is going to be championship material. At the moment, I'm having him right around that top 10, top 5 going forward, but that can change very easily. We see some more slick stuff finishing off in the round 1. What do you think, Derick? Is Muniz championship material very soon within the next 2 years? Does he need about 5 more?
If you give me 2 years, brother, I don't know if he'll have gold around his belt in 2 years, but I think he'll either have a title challenge, like he'll challenge for a title, or listen, man, he's going to be in that, like, legit locked into that top 5, man. I see great things happening for Andre Muniz, and I do need to just correct myself because I guess I lied. Eryk Anders is ranked number 47 in the world, so kind of, I don't really agree with that, though, right? Like, you don't necessarily agree that this is a man who's 50th in the world. Like, this is a man who I think that we could say, like, he's a benchmark for a lot of these fighters, right? If you can pass that test, okay, that's a good milestone in your career for beating Eryk Anders. I mean, look at Thiago Santos. That's one of his biggest wins in his last 5, or I think last 5 is Eryk Anders, and it's like Eryk Anders was much less polished back then. So, do you agree with that number?
Oh, number 47? No, not really. Yeah, I don't really agree with it. I think he's much more of a staple, a litmus test. That was the word I was looking for just a little bit ago. He's definitely much more of a staple in the division where he's one of those names on that hit list. Like, damn, you got past your boy? All right, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see where he's going next.
Absolutely. So with that being said, folks, if you like the 60 seconds rankings review, it's never quite 60 seconds, but I think you get the point. Drop a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Share with your friend. You know what I'm saying. You dig what time it is. BloodyWaterPodcast.com. Once again. All right, my man. Let's move on to a little bit of recap, dog. So like I said, I went 3-2. You went 2-3 overall. But that is not indicative of how we felt about the fights, just because we didn't necessarily get them all right. So we need to talk about the fighter of the night, AJ. You know what time it is. We got a couple different ways we can go here. I got one that I know you're not going to expect, and I'm just upset because I've yet to talk about this fighter. And I should have started off talking about this fighter. That's how impressive their performance was. Nobody is talking about this fighter because Julianna Pena basically overshadowed everybody. And to me, listen, man, I'll say it when I say it, but I'm going to let you go first, my man. Who is your fighter of the night for UFC 269? So many great performances. Who had the best intangibles, the best performance? Who had all of the makings of someone who had a great narrative and storyline that just intertwined, weaved together perfectly to make up your fighter of the night for UFC 269, brother? Take it off. Who you got?
The UFC 269, Derick. I'm excited to hear yours, but me personally, man, I'm going with the layup. How can you not choose Julianna Pena as your fighter of the night, man? Did something that some of the greats, you know, Kat Zingano, Holly Holm, all these names, Valentina Shevchenko, the Iron Lady, Jermaine Durandamy, all these people were not able to do, but put that look on Amanda Nunes' face that she puts on so many of the other women, man. Shock the world. Literally, like I said before, 1% of people chose by submission, but not a damn soul out there chose that. Julianna Pena was able to stand and bang with one of the baddest to ever do it in the women's divisions, man. She put the fear of God in everybody that was watching the entire fight, man. Julianna Pena, absolutely impressive. And I think what did it for me, you know, because there's a lot of ways you can go on this fighter of the night. But what did it for me was the fact that in Dana White's post-fight press conference, he was talking about some experience he was with his daughter, and Julianna Pena walks up to him in the beginning and says, hey, like 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, like, hey, I'm going to fight for you one day, and I'm going to be your champion. That confidence right there proved to be true. Sure enough, here we go. She's putting it to the GOAT. Absolutely crazy, man. Insane to see. I was flabbergasted, like I said before. one of the craziest fights to ever watch. That you wouldn't think a pro like Amanda Nunes would gas herself out trying to hit you, and on the fact when she does, and she is putting those mallets to work that she has, Julianna Pena was just sitting there eating for days, no problem. Looked a little hurt at points, but then that was able to come back, show true resiliency. It was a very impressive fight. My fighter of the night for all those reasons, and mainly for the self-confidence that she had all the way back in the day, continuing when nobody would ever have, or like with the majority of the media, the majority of people choosing, didn't have any confidence in her going into this fight. Everyone thought that it was a lamb being led to slaughter, but she stayed confident in herself, and because of that, Julianna Pena is my fighter of the night for UFC 269, man. Now, what about you, Derick? Who's yours, man? I'm excited to hear this.
Well, first, let me just say, AJ, that I think an important lesson that Julianna Pena put on display is that nobody will believe you until you believe in yourself. And the most important thing is to believe in yourself even when nobody believes in you. I sure didn't believe in her. I know you didn't. I know you had more belief in her than I did, but I think the vast majority of people didn't believe in her. They counted her out. And in the post-fight presser, she said it. She said, nobody thought I was going to win. You know what I'm saying? She was like, I was the only one who thought I was going to win. Like, and I got it done. I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? She pulled the Nate Diaz, right? So I love it because that's what it's about, my man. You should never depend on anybody else in life ever to believe in you. Just believe in yourself. That's what it's about, my man. Like I said, prove people like us wrong, right? That's our job is to talk. Their job is to prove us wrong. That's what it is. However, AJ, is as impressive as Julianna Pena's performance was, I have another lady fighter that I think was almost as impressive, if not more. And the reason why is because it's different circumstances. It's not beating the GOAT, right? That's not what we're talking about. We'll talk about that in depth in a second, but my fighter of the night, AJ, is Erin Blanchfield. Nobody's talking about this fighter. She's a women's flyweight. She's 8-1 in her MMA career, 2-0 in the UFC. She dominated Sarah Alpar in her UFC debut, where she was getting like 30-25s in there, man. I think that was the fight that Alpar just retired after. You know what I'm saying? But the point is she has to fight Maycee Barber, right? Maycee Barber just got a very close, controversial robbery, but win over Miranda Maverick. Maycee Barber, for undisclosed reasons, has to pull out of the fight. We still don't know what those reasons are, so I'm still very interested in that. So she gets a big opportunity. Miranda Maverick, the person who lost to Maycee Barber, says, I need to stay active. I need to do all of this stuff. I got a number next to my name. I'll fight Erin Blanchfield. I'll step in on short notice. Blanchfield opens up the fight as relaxed as ever. Miranda Maverick's trying to intimidate her, trying to be fierce, all that good stuff, right? Both you and I have crowned Miranda Maverick as a future champion in the women's flyweight division. What does Erin Blanchfield do? She comes out. She does something that almost nobody does to Miranda Maverick. She uses positional awareness. She uses her wrestling, her judo, and her jiu-jitsu to absolutely dominate Miranda Maverick from rounds 1 to round 3. And all you can see from Miranda Maverick in her corners every single time she would go back is, I'm losing. This sucks. Like, I need to win. But she knew she was losing. She was getting more frustrated, more amped up. More amped up you get, the tighter you get. The tighter you get, the harder you are to be able to react. Your reactions, your movements become slower. Erin Blanchfield, relaxed as ever, said, I think I'm grappling a little bit too much. Let me go pick her apart on the feet. Let me do whatever I want to do to her. And that's exactly what she did. And for that reason, AJ, this is why she's my fighter of the night. You got to understand how impressive this is, people. Me and AJ have been watching Miranda Maverick. I've been watching her since the Invicta days. She's a former champion, very professional, takes things very seriously. She would, like, at Fight Island against Liana Jojua, man, she killed in that UFC debut. But to see Erin Blanchfield just completely dominate and control her, move to side control, say, I'm going to take the back, I'm going to grab a Kimura hold, I'm going to go north-south, I'm going to put my knee, step my knee over. All right, now it's time to do a transition, take the back, I'm going to go for the rear naked choke, I'm going to crucifix Miranda Maverick and elbow her face in. I'm going to do whatever I want to her. As you can see, I can go on for days and days and days. But for that reason, Erin Blanchfield, you are my fighter of the night. Nobody's talking about you, so I'm going to talk about you because you had a hell of a performance. And I'll tell you what, Erin Blanchfield looks to be what everybody thought Maycee Barber was going to be when she entered the UFC. Now, AJ, I need a quick comment from you on that one, my man. Erin Blanchfield, like I said, she's getting no love right now, so that's why I want to show some love. I definitely thought this was going to be a layup for Miranda Maverick, even though Blanchfield is a very talented prospect. But did you expect to see that, my man? Because that was telling.
Yeah. That was tight, like you said, man. Not at all, brother. That was insane. And it's crazy what a skid can do from a robbery from Miranda Maverick to kind of putting that little bit of fear and a little bit of doubt in her head. Because you're right. I like the way you said that, where she was walking back to her corner and you had that look of like, damn, like, this is happening again. I'm getting controlled. I'm getting dominated. Like, holy shit. And you could tell that mental was changing. Her coaches were on her talking, you got to get in this. And man, Blanchfield was just putting it to her. Literally, I like the way you said that again, Derick. Anything she wanted to do, she was 5 steps ahead of Miranda Maverick. And we hold Miranda Maverick very highly on this program. It looks like Erin Blanchfield is going to be ringing that doorbell soon, man, busting in and saying, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to party. Let's go. Ooh, man. She's Blanchfield has a very high ceiling in this organization going forward. And I'm excited to see where she's going to land up next, man.
Let's just say the 3 fighters and, Sean O'Malley, who I guess Paiva wasn't ranked at the time the fight took place, but he was going into it. Weird enough, right? Sean O'Malley, Tai Tuivasa, and Erin Blanchfield all capitalized on their moments because neither of them had a number next to their name and they all beat a ranked opponent, except I guess Sean O'Malley's got an asterisk next to it because Paiva weirdness. But like I said, they capitalized, my man. So that's why you can't count these people out. That's just all I'm going to say. Erin Blanchfield, you are my fighter of the night. I expect big things to come out of you from the future, or in the future, I guess I should say. But okay, now that the fight of the night is taken care of, AJ, it's time to get into a little bit of record recap. And this is, folks, if you don't know, if you're listening, obviously we're going to describe these photos in the best that we can so that we can all enjoy here, even if you're not watching. But just so you have a little bit of background, the reason why I decided to start doing the photo collection, and I thought it would be a great addition to this show, a good segment for this program, is because I think it's a good way to be able to talk about some of the prelim fights, some of the most exciting moments of the overall fights, of the overall card, and do it with a picture, kind of alongside it. It's easy for us to just talk about it because there's a lot of good performances we have yet to speak on, but I think that having a photo accompany it, it's just a good way to kind of, do it seamlessly, knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. So just so you can understand, have a little bit of reasoning and understanding behind why we're doing it, that's why we're doing it. So if I don't talk about some things, if I don't mention some things to AJ in the first opening 5-10 minutes of the show, it's because I'm waiting for the photo collection so I can actually talk about it a little more in depth. If I ask him to hold his take, that's generally speaking why we're doing that. Now, AJ, I don't have a photo for this, or actually I do have a photo for it. So actually, let's just start off from here. Jillian Robertson, my man. Let me get you back on the screen. The Savage. She has a hell of a performance. Look at that expression. That is the expression of somebody who has just moved into the leader for most stoppage victories in the women's flyweight division at 6. She has more stoppage victories at flyweight, AJ, than Valentina Shevchenko. Very, very impressive. She got the rear naked choke victory over Priscilla Cachoeira, but the bigger storyline here is that Cachoeira, she was being dirty, brother. She gave a couple eye gouges to Robertson, and what was the most savage about the savage, Jillian Robertson herself, it's like almost like she didn't care. Like she was all like, okay, I'm going to make you say uncle anyway, so go ahead, try to poke me in my eyes. I'm just going to squeeze harder. What do you think about the photo? What do you think about the situation, brother?
Man, crazy situation. I think she's holding up 1 fingers in the air, but I wish she was flipping the bird for getting poked in the eye a couple times, letting the haters know what's up. And dude, Jillian Robertson's a savage. She said in her post-fight, or I think it was either in the ring or after in the post-fight presser, she goes, yeah, I felt about knuckle deep, felt about a knuckle in my eye, and I just kept going. I was hoping the refs was going to do something about it, but I knew her time was short. Crazy. The fact that she had that kind of awareness to say, like, you're a full knuckle deep in my eye. Where's that? Right there. Full knuckle deep in my eye, and I'm still going to be choking you. Not worried about it. Just, close up a little. Hopefully you don't hurt me up too bad. Insane, dude. Jillian Robertson. That's why I'm hoping she's flipping the bird off at the haters. But this is a good one. Crazy expression, crazy win, and dirty as hell from Cachoeira. I hope because obviously you couldn't stop the fight in that kind of position. Jillian Robertson has a rear naked choke. You can't just stop it to punish Cachoeira. But I hope they do something a little monetarily or something like that going forward, because that's dirty as hell. We can't have that going.
Yeah, well, I mean, she already lost 30% of her purse because she missed weight by 3 pounds. Then she was fighting dirty. But the biggest thing, AJ, that you said when we were kind of going back and forth in Slack while the fights were going on, you said that she's gonna be kicking herself, knowing that she tapped with like 1 second left. You know what I'm saying? You did all that dirty shit just to tap with like 1 second left in the fight. You feel me? And listen, I understand what it's like to get choked, and you're like, time gets distorted. There's been times Brother, I'm telling you, and I hate myself when I do it sometimes, where I'm rolling with some of the higher belts, a brown belt, a black belt, right? And they're just, they're just waiting. They're waiting till the buzzer to just get me, 2-3 seconds left. They're holding in a choke. And I just don't have, I can't see the clock. I don't know what time it is. I know it's kind of nearing the end of the round, but you're feeling it. The music is starting to fade because you go into a different dimension, and then you just tap, and then the buzzer goes off like 2 seconds later, and then you're like, fuck. Like, man, I didn't have to tap. I could have just held it out. But you can't really know. Like I said, things get distorted. So I understand it. But that's dirty as fuck, man. That's not cool. Let me ask you this, my man. Do you think there are some people who are a little overreactionary? Listen, man, you're fighting for your life in there. So it's like, it's dirty, but it's not like the worst thing in the world to do. Obviously, you probably knew what you were doing. But then again, you're getting choked. So you're like, get off me, right? Do you think that, you said a little monetary repercussion or something, some people are calling for her to get cut from the UFC. Do you think that's a little too harsh?
A little too harsh, man. A little too harsh. We've all been there. And there's been a couple fighters. I believe it was not Derek Brunson, the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. He was saying, he was like, and I think he was joking. He's like, if it gets too tired in there, I start breathing a little hard, I might kick him in the nuts. It is what it is. It's a little dirty. Eye pokes are a little bit more serious. That's permanent damage. Yeah. We can do some for it, but so is kicking somebody in the nuts, man. You don't want to bust a testy. But I don't think. Sorry for that one, Derek. I don't think actually cutting Cachoeira is deserved. There we go. Yeah. I think it's something, give her another ass whooping. Yeah. Let her deal with that. Let her deal with somebody who's going to beat the shit out of her, and then, take a little more money from her purse. Let her know what she did is not cool, and send her on her way.
Absolutely. And I will say that Robertson, she was on a 2-fight losing streak prior to this fight. Cachoeira was on a 2-fight win streak. So, yeah, feed her to the dogs again, man. Say, listen, you got to learn your lesson somehow. You can't just do that. People are going to make you pay. I was talking about that Miranda Maverick versus Erin Blanchfield fight. I just wanted to pull this up. When I was watching the fight back, it was just an interesting position that they got in, man. They got into a scissors position. And you don't see that too often, man. But I was just like, that's something to see right there. If you're a casual, if you've never watched MMA, and you turned on, you're like, yo, man, you got to check out this fight. This is going to be a banger. And they saw this, you'd probably be like, what the fuck am I watching? So folks who are just listening, this is basically Blanchfield has her legs wrapped around Miranda Maverick's head, and Miranda Maverick has her legs wrapped around Erin Blanchfield's head. And I can kind of see what Maverick is trying to do, because from a certain position, you could get a choke out of that on Erin Blanchfield. Like, you could get a successful choke. It's tough to pull it off. But for Blanchfield, she has something a little more locked in. She has something closer to a triangle kind of locked in. And Mavericks is more of a high risk, low reward type maneuver she's trying to pull off. But ultimately, it's a scissor position. Just a weird spot. But this is a 2-part photo collection, because that photo led to the ultimate, this is the story of the fight. So we already basically talked about it, my man. But what percentage would you have given it going into the fight that this is what Miranda Maverick would be looking like during the fight? Like Blanchfield, look at her. She just looks calm. She's just raining down shots. Maverick is trying to, just really cover up, not take too much damage. What percentage would you have given that?
I would have said about 25, Derek. Yeah, real low on this one. I did not see this one coming at all. And what impressed me most was the skill in the transition that Blanchfield showed. Just the fact that she's able to do that with somebody as high level as Miranda Maverick, who's been doing it for so long, speaks levels to her game, and she's only going to be getting better from here. Absolutely.
Now, listen, Bam Bam put on a hell of a show, and he drinks the shoey as always. This is just the photo that I got, my man. Listen, this is what he does. He shows up, he knocks people out, he drinks shoeys, and he was pissed off in the post-fight presser because he was saying that security, they were giving him shit or whatever, trying to rush him out when he was trying to do some, celebrate with the fans. Because, Bam Bam, he says, oh yeah, I won the fight, $50K. I'm going to Vegas. I'm spending fucking half of that shit there. I'm getting fucked up. I'm getting lit. This is what I do. I'm a party animal. I'm from the area. Shout out, all the good stuff, And I really want to know more about that from the area stuff, man. Because where he's from, in either New Zealand or Australia, I don't remember. I want to say Australia. It's tough to confuse him. I don't want to confuse him. So, no disrespect. But for Bam Bam, I'm wondering, is that the hood from his country, his home country? Is that real? I don't know. I have no idea. What do you think? Is that some hood shit? What you think?
It's from what I was understanding from it, it's the natives. There's a lot of native people that are from the area, obviously FTA. But there's a lot of other people that are coming in too, and I'll butcher this as well, Derek. I don't know if it's New Zealand or Australia, but I know it's somewhere down there. So sorry to the homies, a little down southeast from America anyway. But yeah, man. From the way I understand it, it's like the native people. It's how Hawaiians think as well. It's the native Hawaiianers versus the people that are moving in and kind of gentrifying the area. Same thing that's going down over there, down south.
So it's just kind of their version of the indigenous folks, right? The people that's actually, come on, the people from the land, all the good stuff from the area, right?
And FYI, I could also be wrong on this, but that's what I was hearing, and that's what I was reading on the scene, because I didn't know, man. I ain't from there. I ain't from the area.
Exactly. Listen, you listening to a couple Americans trying to over here talk about some Australia and all that good stuff. Listen, as much as we respect you in the fight game, as much as we love the culture, all that, man, we don't know shit. We're Americans. We're ignorant. We're naive. We'll just put it at that. I'll take that one on the chin. It's all good. You feel me? But the point is, Bam Bam basically said he was pissed off because he was all like, listen, this official, I had to snap on him because he was trying to tell me how to do my job. He says, listen, I show up, I knock people out, and I do shoeies. And that's what people pay me for. That's what they pay to show up to see. So, like, don't fuck with my shit. Let me hit my shoeies. Let me do my thing, right? And I love that because he's really embracing that, like, entertainer role while putting up the successful performances to elevate himself through the division. So to me, I'm seeing a lot of similarities between Bam Bam and Sugar Sean O'Malley, my man, because Sean O'Malley said it himself, and we'll talk about it, but he says, he's like, I'm in the fight business. All these other dudes are in the fight game. I'm in the fight business. And I kind of think Tuivasa is doing the same situation, because he was like, hopefully this win opens up the opportunity, get me a nice new contract, you feel me, negotiate a little bit, and entertaining as hell. Everybody likes Bam Bam. You can't name one person who's all like, nah, dude, I don't want to watch this dude fight. You're watching Bam Bam fight, and you're watching the shoey after. Am I right?
Oh yeah, man. And I'm this might be in a soft American take, but I'm glad they stopped spitting in the shoe. I think that's disgusting. But honestly, at the same point, man, that just shows how savage this dude is. I think you let him. I think you let him go and hit the shoes with all the people. That's what he's there for. Yeah. And I saw exactly what he was talking about. They were literally pushing him while he was trying, like, yo, these are my homies. I'm trying to do shoeies with them. Yeah, that's if you're fighting only on a pay-per-view card consistently, just like Sean O'Malley, just like Bam Bam Tuivasa, you let the homies do what they got to do, man. Especially, far be it that there's something crazy in one of those shoes, but I think Bam Bam is savage enough that he'll just take it down the gullet and keep on rocking.
Well, I guess word is that's the difference between American and Australian. So I think he is Australian. That's the difference between American, like Australian shoeies, is that American shoeies, there's no spit. In Australia, they got the spit. And Kaikar, France, too, he was all like, shit, I'm going to have to start hitting some shoeies with Bam Bam. We hitting the town tonight. So, listen, big win by him, too. All right, AJ, this next photo. Listen, man, I have not been pleased enough to say that I was wrong, but then I'm also hurting because I'm also a big fan of Darrick Minner, don't get me wrong. So it was tough to see that he didn't really use too much of his game plan. James Krause, that true X Factor fighting out of Glory MMA, the coach out of Glory MMA, gave him a lot of advice that Minner just didn't really capitalize on. But then again, easier said than done when you're fighting the Wizard in Ryan Hall, who was just such an awkward dude to fight. I mean, listen, who would have thought that Ryan Hall listen, he's a jiu-jitsu master. We already know this about him. But who would have thought that he would have effective and true control on Darrick Minner in rounds 1 and 2 from the bottom? And then round 3 say, oh, yeah, I know how to wrestle too. Whoops, forgot. And then just control him from the top, my man. Decision win, unanimous decision win for Ryan Hall, but very, very impressive. Big win he absolutely needed, and I think he kind of viewed it as that. I think he viewed it as, this is a must-win. I just got to get the dub. I want to finish him. Obviously, he wants the rematch with Ilia Topuria because he claims inactivity is the reason why he kind of didn't show up in that fight. But either way, man, he showed up tonight or on Saturday night and got the big win. We thought Minner was a live dog. I'm right there with you, brother. I really thought Minner was a live dog, but he did not execute. Fight IQ was just a little low. Still showed heart and tenacity, but what did you make of the performance?
Still showed heart and tenacity, but I think Ryan Hall did the right thing and fought the ego of Darrick Minner, man. Yeah. He said, oh, like you think we're going to go this way? You think I'm going to play this game? I'll show you control. I'll show you how to get it done. And whenever you're doing that to a wrestler, especially one as predominant or as strong as Darrick Minner is, it's kind of hard to not do what you're so used to doing. And you think like, I can control this guy on the ground. I control everyone on the ground. Yeah. Next, Ryan Hall has some slick heel lock on you, and you're just sitting there just inches away from a whole knee reconstruction surgery.
Yeah.
And then you think like, oh, I got out of that. I can continue. I can keep going. And the next thing you know, he's just rolling and sprawling. It's yeah, man, a little sad and disheartening for me because I was really excited for this fight for Derick Minner, and he just played directly into Ryan Hall's game plan, which smart for Ryan Hall. That's a good way to go. If the dude's gonna play this kind of game, let's roll.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I bet James Krause was pissed.
Yeah, I mean, you could hear him the whole fight screaming, "Get out of there!" Even the commentary booth, they're like, "Bro, like you can't you're playing Hall's game. Why are you engaging with him? Like if I was his corner, I'd tell him to stand up." And that's exactly what Krause was saying. But the thing is, man, it's also easier said than done because imagine you're trying to swing on Ryan Hall, but every time you plant and sit down on your shot, he rolls. He like does an Imanari roll into a triangle on you. Like this dude literally rolled into a triangle on Derick Minner. You know how impressive that is, bro? Like your positional awareness, your awareness of your body and how to move has got to be so fluid and so relaxed and accurate and precise at the same time. It's just an overall great performance by Ryan Hall. I counted him out. There was a reason why he was a favorite. It showed. But, man, I just didn't expect this type of fight. Like I said, I told you there's only two ways this can go for me. Either a quick leg lock submission by Ryan Hall, he just gets it in there, or Derick Minner just kind of smashes him ground and pound, which I kind of thought was the game plan, trying to go with that half guard. But he didn't really have half guard. Ryan Hall had great guard retention. So every time that he would try to use his wrestling, Minner would try to use the wrestling, Ryan Hall would just go back to the guard, control him, kick him with his heel, you know what I mean, drop elbows. He had the one spot where he put Minner in a triangle and was dropping elbows down on his head, man. It was very impressive. So big win, by Ryan Hall, the Wizard. You know what time it is. Dominic Cruz, my man, he gets another win back on the board against Pedro Muniz. Just right here, AJ. The photo is of Cruz, both hands in the air. First time having consecutive wins in quite some time, my man. These are his first two wins since dropping two back-to-back to Cody Garbrant and who's the other dude that he lost to? That was the quick one.
Henry Cejudo? No.
It was Cejudo. Yeah, it was Cejudo because it was quick. It was just like, Cejudo beats Dominic Cruz, then he's like, all right, I'm out of here. I beat all the legends. Get the fuck out of here, right? But Cruz, he gets a win back on the board. Listen, he had to overcome some adversity, my man. He got dropped bad with the jab by Pedro Muniz, man. Muniz was putting it on him in that first round, but he came back. He showed his veteran. He showed his skill, his experience, and I just think that overall, my man, Dominic Cruz is just that dude who it's a hard puzzle to figure out, and it's crazy that he's still doing it. Sean O'Malley said it himself. He's a living, walking legend, and it's just crazy to see him fight right now, and we have to respect it while we still have him in the game. So what do you think of this performance? What do you think of the photo?
Man, this photo speaks levels to exactly what it was. He had to overcome a war, and he says himself, he's like, I thought I just slipped, but homeboy got knocked out basically twice and woken up twice again from the power of Pedro Muniz, and you can see it on Dominic Cruz's face, just pure excitement. He's closing his eyes. Had a weird, I understand the whole post-fight presser and the whole coming together part. It just seemed kind of left field. I didn't really know exactly what he was talking about. I thought he had his tinfoil hat on and a little bit, the hot take right there, man. But yeah, Dominic Cruz, he's very cerebral, and I think that's what the whole fight plan was for him. And it really showed how smart he was going into this fight and knowing like, hey, I got to do these certain angles. And it was classic Dominic Cruz style, man. Looked really smooth out there, really fast. But Pedro Muniz hit him hard, man. And the fact that he was able to lean on his experience through those first, second, and third rounds and then really take over the fight in rounds 2 and 3, very impressed from Dominic Cruz. Yeah. And I'm excited he's still around fighting, man. And we get his commentary, too, which a lot of people, even, they ever had the back and forth with him in DC saying that Dominic Cruz is dull. I don't think so. He is that kind of sarcastic comedy, a little wit, a little sharp. He's very intelligent, and we were able to see that in this fight as well.
I don't think he's dull. I think he's dry. And I think there's a difference. Because I'm dry too. You feel me? So it's like I like it. You know what I'm saying? But I like that he took that on the chin. Listen, man, I agree with you. In the post-fight presser, I had to cut it off halfway. Because I was like, bro, at a certain point, it's like I've done it myself. Don't get me wrong. So I know what it's like when someone asks you a question and you say way more than you need to say. Like he could have just answered it very simply, but he goes into some deep ass tangent where you're like, bro, that was you taking shit way too personal. Like, relax, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like when he went about, I'm just living in the moment and I'm not doing for the future. The future doesn't exist the past doesn't exist and all this. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't even need to say all that. You could have just been like, hey, man, I'm just enjoying the moment right now, and kept it pushing. Like, you didn't even need to go all that. So I think you could even tell that the people asking questions were like, okay, Dom, all right, brother. You know what I mean? Like, I just got to get these questions down for my job. But listen, man, you can dip. It's all good. Listen, good performance by Dominic Cruz. It is interesting seeing that contrast between him being the commentator and him being an active fighter. So all we can say is the wins are what matter right now. He looked in shape. He looked ready to go. That style is crazy as ever. But once again, he did get caught in that transition of switching because he's got that awkward switches from orthodox to southpaw where he comes over the top like that, but he left his chin open. Boop, jab. That's it, man. Protect your chin. AJ, this is another dude who, should have been a performance of the night. This is another huge, not necessarily upset, even though, let me see, was it an upset? It was an upset, but I think that this is something that nobody saw coming, my man, and once again, nobody's talking about it, but people should. So this is a man that goes by the nickname of Primetime, who just absolutely just smothers Randy Costa. No output by Costa whatsoever. He took it to him. He dominated him. He made him look like he didn't even belong in the same cage with Tony Kelly. Very impressive, my man. That was your sleeper, and I'm sure that you did not pick it for the way that it played out. But either way, that was a sleeper matchup just to watch in general, my man. Like, if you watched that, you'd probably think, oh, this Tony Kelly guy is really good. Who's this Randy Costa guy? You would have no idea. Randy Costa is a killer. So give me your take, brother. That was crazy.
Yeah, Derick, you're right, man. This is not why I picked this sleeper, but again, it proves exactly why you need to be watching these prelim fights. These sleeper fights we're highlighting for you. Tony Kelly made Randy Costa literally look like like you said, nobody knew who Randy Costa was. Randy Costa looked like a normal, just kind of run-of-the-mill fighter. And obviously at the UFC, you're still really, really good. But Tony Kelly made him look like a regional amateur guy that did not belong in there, man. Absolute control. Primetime showed up. Crazy fight. I was expecting fireworks on the feet, but we got a lot different. We got a lot of control out of Tony Kelly. Crazy fight, man.
Crazy fight. I will just say for Tony Kelly, this is big for him because a lot of people didn't believe him. Like I said, he was ranked 123. Costa was about like 50, 55 in the world, right? He moves to 2-1. This is his first knockout win in the UFC. And he says it. He says, I'm the best in the world right now. You just don't know it yet. And once again, that supreme self-confidence, that belief. When nobody believes in you, you believe in yourself, that's what skyrockets you up those divisions, my man, you know? So hopefully we see more big things from Tony Kelly, more activity, because he did have, I think, like a rotator cuff injury or something that kept him out for a while. But big win. All right, AJ, last two photos in the collection. Who would have thought that this photo was round one, my man? Amanda Nunes, she looked like she was dominating, able to out-grapple Pena. I was like, oh, man, listen, I watched this at a sports bar, my man, and I'll tell you, from round one, the energy in the crowd, everybody was like, oh, yeah, Nunes. I was even talking to somebody, and they were like, oh, yeah, who you got? I was like, oh, yeah, I got Nunes, you know what I mean? I got her in under 3 rounds, you know, and he was like, oh, yeah, I got her in 2. And I was like, shit, she about to do it right now. I mean, look at how the fight's going. Next thing you know, I don't got a picture of her with the belt, but it's Pena on top of the cage celebrating, doing some wacky, just like all types of craziness, you feel me? And I love it because that is pure jubilation. That is pure, I shock the fucking world, and I can do whatever I want. I can do the goofiest thing in the world, and it does not matter because that's the look of pure joy. And listen, man, Nunes, clearly, that's how big of a moment. I have no words. Pena, though, listen, oh, my God, my Lord, my man. I just wanted to show that, AJ. Clearly, we've been talking about it, so you don't really got to say much on it. But I wanted to ask you, if you were to pull off an upset like that, would you do some goofy stuff like that and just start shaking it on the cage, doing whatever?
Oh, you know I'm hitting that shimmy, bro.
Yeah,
I loved the fact that she hit the Nate Diaz comment. I'm not surprised, motherfuckers, because she's the one that believed in her the most. But I loved the shimmy on the top of the cage. Even better, she's making it rain on her. Yeah, bro. I'm going to do some goofy shit up there if I have that same kind of moment. I hope everybody does, because that's what you do when you're living in the moment. You're having fun, coming from, somewhat nerdy. Yeah, I'm embarrassed myself even more because I just embarrassed the GOAT. Hell yeah.
Brother, I'm telling you, this is something that you remember for the rest of your life. This is a moment cemented. This is at T-Mobile Arena, man. I wish I could have been there, my man. I really do wish I could have been there. But oh, man, craziness. You see, it took the win. I got to take a deep breath just talking about it, you know what I'm saying? But that's the photo collection, folks. So if you like the photos, all the good stuff, drop a like, subscribe. YouTube is the main hub for us. Obviously, our website is where we watch everything for free, but YouTube at Bloody Water Podcast or type in Free Thinkers Club. Either one will get you there, but we appreciate you. All right, AJ, we got to run through these a little quickly just because we spent a lot of good time on that photo collection. The Sugar Show, my man, listen, hitting another jump shot. He told Paiva he was going to knock him out. Paiva got really offended. It was like, oh, no, I'm going to knock you out. AJ, my man, I don't think I was wrong to look at this matchup and say, like, I just don't see why people think that if O'Malley beats Paiva, he would be a title contender. Because Paiva, to me, he hasn't really done enough. Not in the bantamweight division, at least. He hasn't done enough. Even in the flyweights, like I said, he had a couple rough losses. In that win that he got in his last fight against Kyler Phillips, it just, Kyler Phillips 10-8'd him. You could have stopped the fight. He gassed himself out by punching him in the face. Not always the best game plan to have. And I think the story on this one right here was just simply precision. I think that's literally all it was. O'Malley was too precise, too awkward, too precise. What do you think about this?
Man, too precise. And the one thing I said in the pre-fight show we were doing rang true. If O'Malley hurts Paiva, he's not just going to empty the gas tank. He's going to stay precise. He's going to stay calm, get the finish. That's exactly what happened, man. Very patient first-round KO from the Sugar Show. And very tactical. I really don't have any other notes besides he did his game plan. He was even saying, he was like, I was pissed off because Daniel Cormier in my last fight kept saying, like, oh, he's looking at the clock. Like, yeah, I'm going to look at the clock. Like, I want to know how much time I have left. It's a very tactical way that Sean O'Malley likes to fight and call us a fanboy over here and not. Sugar Show's the real deal, man.
Yeah, man. And I will say I agreed with him because, yes, sometimes it is definitely a sign that a fighter's tired, when you're looking at the clock and you're like, oh, shit, man, all right. But then again, if you're being cerebral and you're trying to pace yourself and pick your spots and pick your moments when to explode, when not to explode, it's also a good thing to be aware of that. You want situational awareness all across the board. My question to you to close this one out, is Sean O'Malley improving? Are you seeing improvements each and every fight? Let's talk about the Chris Moutinho fight. That dude was a walking punching bag. He had to throw so many strikes because the dude would just relentlessly walk forward. This time around, he went back to his knockout ways where he's able to pick his spots, get his opponent going backwards. When he had him hurt, bro, I'm telling you, it felt like almost every shot landed. It was just like, bah, da, da, over the top, all different angles, and everything was just landing flush. Is he improving?
Yeah, I think so, man. It's hard because his striking was already top level. Yeah. But we saw the fact that he wasn't just headhunting, he was hunting to the body too. And that's really what hurt Paiva. Get his hands down, then come up top, hit him with some uppercuts. The striking is improving, even if it's just little by little, because he's already at the top upper echelon of his style, of his striking in general. I want to see how he does on the ground, though. We really need to see where he holds himself on the ground. Let's see, fight somebody like the Machine. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a hard fight going forward, man. That's going to be a real tough outing going, but we'll see. I mean, I still think he is improving little by little, especially because he's so young. Yeah. But it's just the X factor in me for the ground game. How much is ground game improving? Because the striking is already there. Yeah, big question mark. So we're going to have to get that figured out here in the near future. And if he enters the rankings, that's what they're going to start doing to him. I will just say on this performance right here, my man, Dominic Cruz noted that Sean O'Malley is doing what he's supposed to do. He said he's doing a good job of doing what he's supposed to do. He's not really showing him too much love because, there's a little heat between those two. Do you think that is a true sentiment, a true statement right there? Do you think he's just simply doing what he's supposed to do as opposed to shining and putting on these great performances? I don't know. I think he is doing what he's supposed to do, because if you're put on the main card, you're there for a reason. You're there to get flash KOs. You're there to really show up and perform. You have the swag. You see him hitting the jump shot in the photo. I think it was more of a compliment than Dominic Cruz intended it to be, because he's doing what he's supposed to do. And ideally, you perform to the level that the boss expects you to, a little bit more, so that way they keep you wanting coming back and you don't set the bar too high, which can sometimes happen with Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, well, I will say first round knockout, you can never be mad at that, right? I mean, listen, it is what it is. All right, AJ. Let's move on to the next one. Kai Kara France, brother. Come on, man. He gets the first round TK over Cody Garbrant. And this photo right here is what I was talking about. You see him. That is, to me, this is a scary photo, because this is the equivalent of when Khabib did it to Conor and he's smashing his face and talking about, let's talk now. You want to talk? Let's talk now, while he's just raining down shots on him, right? This is Kara France being like, oh, who's a little bitch, right? You know what I mean? He was talking all that shit. He was saying, oh, you need to worry about me. Don't worry about O'Malley. And then I guess he said said in the post-fight presser that Garbrandt responded, "Why do I even need to worry about you? Da-da-da-da-da." Just overlooking him, my man. And that's what happens when you overlook your competition, your opposition. When you get in that cage, my man, all those words, they go out the window. Now it's time to scrap. You forgot about me? I'm right here. That is what Garbrant did. And listen, he's really living up to the nickname now. Don't blink, man. You can't blink with this dude. 2 back-to-back knockouts. His only 2 knockouts in the UFC. This was one of those really stock-boosting performances. However, I do not agree that Garbrant deserves a title shot after this, being that even though Garbrandt was gifted a title shot that, you know, it didn't really end up working out for him. Listen, dude is what? Now he's 0-5 in his last 5? Or still 1-5? I'm not sure how that works necessarily. Probably 1-5 still in his last 5 or something like that. Or 1-4. I don't know. Math is hard sometimes. Either way, man, Cody Garbrant, he's not the biggest, you know, he's not doing the most in that division. So I think you need another win over an Alex Perez, over a, you know what I mean, Alexandre Pantoja. If he gets a win over that, all right, you got a title shot. But Cody Garbrant, I don't know. Give me your take on the photo. Give me your take on the fight, brother. This was almost one-way traffic from Garbrant. So what do you think?
One-way traffic from Garbrant, man. And like I said, man, I honestly think Cody Garbrandt's chin held up really, really well, but you can only take so many on the button, and Garbrant was absolutely putting it to him. We saw any time that you're in the cage or you're in a scrap and you're running away looking, and the dude's still chasing you, dropping bombs right on the button. It's a rough night out there. And very impressed with Garbrant. I like the photo, man, because he's talking. He's saying it. What worry about me now? You know, think about this. I'm coming at you. Yeah, I'm very impressive win for Garbrant. Heavy hands. I don't think he deserves the title shot, but I do think he deserves, you know, the upper top 5, top 3 competition going forward. We'll see where they place him next.
Yeah, we'll talk matchmaking in just one moment. All right, folks, I have to be honest with you. This is one of the fights that I didn't really catch too much. I do know that Jeff Neal got the split decision win. From what I saw, it looked like he was controlling the action. But AJ, walk us through this one, my man. Just give us a quick synopsis of this bout.
Man, this fight, very back and forth, man. I had this one as one of the hardest ones to choose. I was watching this one, and we had Jeff Neal going forward for the majority of the times, but at the same time, Ponzinibbio had his moments, man. So Derick, I'll be completely honest with you. My mouse died, so I can't even look at my notes at the moment, but I do remember this fight very, very well. So basically, man, Jeff Neal had the hands, he had the power. Ponzinibbio had the speed, but he did look a little bit smaller in there going forward. I had Ponzinibbio winning rounds 1 and round 2, with Jeff Neal getting the more damage of the shots, more power in the shots, and that doing more damage throughout the fight. And either way, I could see how either one of these guys was going to win. What I disagree with most was that 30-27 decision from one of the judges, because I do think Ponzinibbio had his moments as well. It wasn't just Jeff Neal doing the majority of the work, even though he was leading the dance. Crazy fight back and forth. This one's actually really hard for me to judge. Like I was watching it and I was trying to score it, and it was just so back and forth that it came down to like however your own personal judgment would be. I could very easily see Ponzinibbio also winning this fight. Very close, very close.
Right on.
Yeah, good scrap though. I mean, like I said, both dudes had their moments, very up and down. Jeff Neal just landed the majority of the power, and he was the one always walking forward. But what I like from Ponzinibbio is that he was very multidimensional. He was attacking the legs, he was attacking the body. I take that back. He was attacking the legs. I think there was only one body shot thrown in the entire fight, and it was Ponzinibbio. Okay. Other than that, Jeff Neal was headhunting consistently. Ponzinibbio was mixing it up between the head and the legs, throwing those leg kicks, but it just didn't do enough damage to actually deter Jeff Neal, and those hands of steel were really still rocking.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's what we said, right? I said Ponzinibbio, he's a better striker. Neal's probably a better boxer. And listen, I guess the pure boxing won this time around, you know? So it's hard for me to say good fight because I didn't see it. But listen, it sounds like it was a good fight from what you're saying, my man. So Jeff Neal needed the win. He moves to 6-2 in the UFC, first win since 2019. His last one was against Mike Perry, believe it or not. So, all right, AJ, we'll move on to the next one, brother.
Give me a second real quick. Let me go fucking put a battery in my mouth.
Yeah, no worries. All right, folks. While AJ's doing his thing, I'm going to take over. I want to talk about this matchup real fast. So, obviously, we've been saying, you know, ad nauseum, Julianna Pena, she shocks the world. She does all this good stuff. But I want to take my my take on what I saw. So I'm watching Amanda Nunes, right? And in that first round, she comes out. It's kind of feeling out process. You know, she's trying to land the 1-2. That is Amanda Nunes. She's running through everybody. That's how it works, I suppose. But one of the things that I was kind of reading into a little bit is that Amanda Nunes hasn't necessarily had an opponent in the last 3 years or so that she hasn't been able to just walk through. So when you get a little bit of adversity, when you're used to just bulldozing people, when you're being the bully and somebody decides to either stand up to the bully or bully the bully back a little bit, you get a little bit of a deer in the headlights, a little wide-eyed, all of that good stuff, right? So that was a little bit concerning to me. And as I was watching that, first round when Nunes getting a little bit of the grappling going, I'm like, okay, interesting that you're engaging with Pena in the grappling. Maybe you want to do what you said you were going to do, which was finish her on the ground, show that you're better than her where she's best. But in the second round, we saw a lot of stand-up. We saw a firefight. And what was odd to me is that at a certain point when Nunes' power wasn't necessarily landing flush and putting Pena away when she was used to it, she stopped moving her head. So then she just stood in that firefight, and instead of resetting, like they were just going back and forth, swinging in the phone booth. And instead of just like taking a step back, all right, I'm going to reset, I'm going to shift angles, I'm going to circle out, there was none of that. It was just punch, 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 like rock'em sock'em robots until one of them fell. And Nunes, before she had the chance to fall, gassed herself out. Pena grabs her, takes her back, and chokes her out. Didn't even need the hook. She did the same thing that Jillian Robertson did to Priscilla Cachoeira. So maybe it was an omen, that first bout of the night. I don't know, my man. AJ, do you got your battery working? Do you got something to say on this one, my man? Do you agree that Nunes' game plan in and of itself it was kind of poor. It was kind of odd. It was weird. And I asked you this when the mics were cold, but 10 out of 10 times, they fight 10 times. How many times does Pena pull this upset? I say 1. All respect to the new champ. I say 1. And I think if they do rematch, I think Nunes gets the belt back personally. But give me your take, brother.
Yeah, I agree with you, Derick. I say one time this happens, and Julianna Pena pulled it off when she was exactly supposed to. Craziest thing for Amanda Nunes, I think she was a little too overconfident going in. She didn't have that air of, this girl might be able to do it. She was like, I'm going to dominate her. And I think what you said is correct. Amanda Nunes wanted to finish Julianna Pena, where Pena is at her best, is on the ground. And going forward, man, Julianna Pena, that first round was looking a little rough for her. Yeah. But then that jab started working. And you know the worst part, when you're getting jabbed in the face and you think like, oh, okay, it's not hitting me that hard. And then you catch another one. And then you catch another one. And then you catch another one. And you're just sitting there going back and like, what do I got to do? I'm going to try to land my power on this girl. Boom, ping you again. The jab of Pena was just working very impressively. She came out and showed – Pena didn't only come out and show that she was good on the ground, but she came out to show that she got those hands too, man. And this, even in the first round, it was very dominating for Amanda Nunes. And we saw Pena with the closest at that moment that we'd ever seen Amanda Nunes in danger with that. I believe it was a Kimura that she was trying to pull out from underneath. Even at one point, Amanda Nunes looked up at her corner like, oh, okay, do I do this? Okay, cool. So it looked a little bit more in danger, but I still thought going into round 2, Amanda Nunes was going to be very dominant in this one. And insane that she was down to just start trading bombs instead of had good head movement. I was literally speechless, man. Pena brought the fight to the bully. The bully didn't show up. The bully got tired. It got hurt and then ended up tapping out. Crazy fight.
That was my synopsis of this fight, is that fatigue makes a coward of all men and, women as well, and that's the situation. When you get in there and you're tired, man, you're not even fighting against your opponent. You're fighting against yourself at that point. But Julianna Pena, what was impressive to me is that Amanda Nunes, if she did a little bit of film study, she would have known that Pena would have done this to her. She did the same thing against Jermaine Durandamy. The only difference is Durandamy, after eating a couple shots, circled out and reset. Nunes just never reset, never circled out. She just ate the shots. And obviously her chin held up. It wasn't a chin issue. It wasn't like she got dropped or got hurt. I think she literally just got too fatigued, too tired. And when she got choked out, it didn't even look like she really tried to defend it. So it looked like you get them tired, choke them out. That's the Rose Namajunas plan, right? Punch them in the face, take their back, choke them out. Like, that's literally what Pena did. That's what won her championship. You got to love to see it, my man. But once again, I do think if they rematch, Amanda Nunes gets the belt back. But at the moment right now, all respect to Julianna Pena. There's nothing we can say, nothing we could take away from her. She shocked the world. She beat the GOAT. It is what it is. Shout out. All right. Now this one that gets overlooked, my man. Oliveira weathers the storm and he defeats Dustin Poirier, my man. Heartbreaking end to probably what has to be one of the last title runs at lightweight for Poirier. I just don't really see how you give the man another title shot. They said he's had 3 title shots in the span of a year. So it's like, all right, brother, you got to take a back seat. Either, I mean, I don't see him moving up to 170. He might, but 155 at that rank, you're just a gatekeeper for a while. Unless he just says, I'm going to just chill and wait for the McGregor trilogy. You got to think, how much steam does that have on it now? I don't know, a lot of implications. But either way, Charles Do Bronx, my man, listen, this is a dude who you can't doubt anymore. I can't doubt anymore. He weathers the storm. He does, man. I don't know how he does it, but the big difference in this fight, AJ, I think the big key to victory for Poirier, or for Oliveira, was the teep kick to the body, the knees to the body work. Poirier almost threw nothing to the body. He threw like one jab to the body. Aside from that, Oliveira, he just looked like a better mixed martial artist. Poirier looked like he was trying to kind of just outbox him a little bit. How dominant is Oliveira going to be, my man? Are we seeing a new reign of dominance by Oliveira, or do you think that there's still somebody that can come in and take that belt from him, like a Justin Gaethje? What do you think?
Whew, with the kind of skill set he has and the power that he was able to withstand that Poirier was throwing, because Poirier had a very solid left straight down the pipe, man. And Oliveira ate it on the chin, 4 or 5 different times. But then again, he ate it. He literally head rocked back and he's like, all right, I'm still here. Very dangerous. And what impressed me most, you said it best, man. He was hitting those knees to the body, but he was so strong in the clinch that there was nothing Dustin was able to do. Once Oliveira had the hands on him, that clinch game was working. Those knees were flying. The body shots were hitting hard. Yeah, crazy to see Oliveira. And this is one of those fighters you asked about Sean O'Malley improving. I think Charles Oliveira is at the pinnacle of the division, and he's still getting better each and every single fight, dude. It's crazy to see. Because he weathered the storm. He was hurt for a little bit in those first couple rounds, and then just absolutely saw where his strengths were best against Dustin Poirier's weaknesses, and made the game plan work, dude. Very impressive for him. Oliveira had crazy ground control in round 2, and man, I didn't see this one coming either. Very surprised.
A lot of people were saying that they were surprised by Poirier just retaining a closed guard. But if you listen to him in the pre-fight presser, you shouldn't be, because he said it. He was all like, listen, against Khabib, I learned my lesson. Maybe I should just take the round off, lose the round instead of losing the fight. And I think that's what he did. So I wasn't surprised at all. What was surprising is that I told you, I was all like, well, Poirier lasted 3 rounds with Khabib, and you know how good he is and all that. And then he got choked out in round 3. Well, he lasted 3 rounds with Oliveira and got choked out by Oliveira. So it goes to show how good Oliveira is. I mean, this is his 20th career submission win, his first title defense. He moved to 20-8 with 1 no contest in the UFC. And at this point, my man, I think it's going to take somebody who has really good submission defense, really good grappling, and really good striking, which that's Dustin Poirier. It's literally what Dustin Poirier is. So it's just, I don't know, my man. All respect to Do Bronx, because most people, I mean, listen, he was an underdog as a champion. I think Eddie Alvarez was the only other one in the lightweight title history to be an underdog going into a title defense. So I think that the future is bright for Charles Do Bronx, my man. However, it's just going to be a target on his back. Everybody's going to be vying for that championship. And you got to be interested to see who's going to be able to take it away if they can. That's the first title defense. Khabib, he didn't have that many title defenses, my man. So if Oliveira could rack a couple of them together good and just keep finishing people the way that he's doing it, oh, man. Listen, he's going in the history books for sure. But that was your main event, folks, and that is everything. We hit about just all the fights right there, my man. This was a crazy night of fights. I'm glad we were able to go a little bit long on this one, too, because like I said, we only got one more event for the rest of the year. We got a little break, a little 4-week hiatus or so, but, folks, we're going to stay active, stay busy. We got some interesting stuff cooked up for you guys. Before we get into the matchmaking, drop a like, subscribe, all the good stuff, my man. I will say, go on Apple Podcasts and rate us 5 stars, man. That thing really, really helps. Or wherever your podcast provider is, wherever your streaming service is, go over there, follow us, subscribe to us on that. Make sure that you have a notification set, so every time that we're putting episodes out, you get it straight to the phone, my man. 8 a.m.s, Mondays and Fridays, 12 a.m.s for the short clips. You know what time it is. YouTube, it's the big hub where we got a million videos on there. You dig. Come on. All right, AJ, let's hit a little bit of matchmaking, and then, you know what I mean, kind of knock this thing out the park, my man. Listen, easy. Charles Do Bronx, my man. Who does he fight next? Justin Gaethje. That's the only answer, right? There's only one other answer, and that is the winner of Beneil Dariush and Islam Makhachev. But I think that he has to get past Gaethje, and then he's probably going to be fighting the winner of that. And I think that Beneil Dariush and Islam Makhachev both pose very real threats to that title, personally. But do you agree with me, my man? This is just and still. What else can we say?
Yeah, and still, I got Gaethje next. I actually think we'll see. We'll see for the Gaethje match how good Gaethje's going to do against him. But I think the styles of Benny Dariush as well as Islam Makhachev pose a little bit harder of a match. Charles Oliveira might run through a couple title defenses here in the near future, man.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Julianna Pena. All right, man. Immediate title match with Nunes. Listen, here's the reason why. Nunes successfully defended the women's bantamweight championship 5 times. She had 8 straight title defenses, and she hasn't lost a fight since 2014. If there's anybody that deserves an immediate rematch, I think it's Nunes. However, you got to love the confidence of Pena, who says, I'll give her a rematch when you're free. I'm free next week, next month, whatever, Obviously, it was a little bit in jest, but at the same time, you got to love the confidence. You got to think that's going to play a little bit of that psychological mind trick against Nunes, being like, oh, this bitch wants to do what, but she's the champ, and you got to respect the champ. So I think that it would be ludicrous to go anywhere besides an immediate rematch. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely disrespectful to one of the greatest ever to do it. And Amanda Nunes, I think she gets the instant rematch.
All right, easy. Jeff Neal, he defeated Ponzinibbio, right? Ponzinibbio was 14, Neal was 12. Neal really needed the win after suffering back-to-back losses. But right now, AJ, it's really hard to match him going forward because he has a loss to Neil Magny. Neil Magny is kind of right there, and he's like 8 or 10 or something like that. So it's kind of hard to move him forward. I have him fighting backwards if he wants to stay active, and I have him fighting against a man coming off of a loss, which is something you're also not supposed to do. But like I said, it's just tough to match him up right now. So I think he should fight the Leech, Li Jingliang. He's coming off that bad loss to Chimaev where it wasn't even really a fight. I just want to see a firefight between these two. I think it would be really fun. And at the end of the day on this one, my man, this is just a fight so he could stay active because he's coming off back-to-back losses, man. So it's never really what you want to see.
I could be wrong. Didn't they fight already?
Have they?
Huh?
Have they? I don't know. I actually don't know.
I think Neil Magny lost to Li Jingliang. I could be wrong about this one. I don't have the notes up. I don't have the record.
Jeff Neal.
Jeff Neal? Oh, okay.
Yeah, brother. I'm Neil Magny. He wasn't fighting. I'm talking about Jeff Neal. I said Jeff Neal lost to Neil Magny.
My bad.
No,
For some reason, I thought Jeff Neal fought Li Jingliang, but I agree. That'd be a good fight going forward. I also had Michael Chiesa. That's the one that I was picking going forward. I think that'd be a good scrap. Michael Chiesa, he's a great grappler, great striker. I think it's a hell of a step up for Jeff Neal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, either one of those. I think we really need to see how good Jeff Neal is on the ground. The fact that he was just headhunting only and going boxing only and not mixing it up. Now that he's getting into that upper echelon of those divisions, we need to see how he actually does the mixed part of the mixed martial arts and not just straight boxing only.
Yeah. So, and just real quick, I'm looking it up. I guess they were rumored to fight. Jeff Neal's already called out Li Jingliang earlier this year, but they haven't fought actually. So, yeah, man. So interesting. I like the Michael Chiesa matchup. I don't know how soon he's going to be fighting because I don't know if you heard, my man. He was celebrating with, trying to jump over the cage, had to get thrown out the arena against Pena, and he busted his eye, man, busted his whole shit. So, listen, it'll be interesting. But Chiesa, he needs to win bad too, my man. So, all right. Kai Kara-France, he gets the win over Cody Garbrant. He's calling for a title shot. I don't agree. Like I said, I think he needs one more. So I already said Alexandre Pantoja would be a good fight, but then again, Pantoja, he kind of already deserves the title shot. So I was thinking one of the flyweights who unfortunately wasn't able to fight, and technically it wasn't his fault because Matt Schnell fight got botched because of medical complications on his part. But Alex Perez, number 4 in the division. I just think that's the fight that makes sense, my man. Perez, he's former title challenger. I think if he gets past him, Kai Kara-France definitely deserves the chance. What do you think?
Yep, that's where I had too. There's very few places we can go with Kara-France, and I don't think it's a title shot yet. Yeah. I'm with you with the Perez pick. I think it's a good way to go. Going to make an interesting fight, especially when they're both healthy, swinging for the fences. It's going to be fun.
All right, brother. Who's next for the Sugar Show?
Sugar Show. I'm taking the slow route on this one because there's a lot of places you can go, a lot of fights we want to see. And even on this one, I'm not sure if the fighter I'm about to choose is healthy or what's going on exactly with him, but it's one of the old dogs in the game. It's one of the old dogs that needs to really prove himself in Magic, Marlon Moraes. Man, I think it'd be a good fight. Crazy kicks, crazy striking. They haven't fought yet. It'd be a good, interesting match. I think Marlon Moraes would be the underdog on that one as well, especially coming off the loss streaks he's been having, but he needs the win, and that's when we're fighting for the most, fighting the dirtiest we've ever been, or not dirtiest, but most intense, I guess, is the best way to put it. We don't want to see any more eye gouges. I think it'd be a good fight. What do you think?
Well, listen, Moraes, he can knock anybody out on the feet. Anybody, right? And I also think that as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, he'd be able to pose a lot of grappling issues for O'Malley. I really like that fight, but I think that's a faster approach than what I'm thinking. I'm slow rolling him. I was thinking the Kung Fu Monkey, Song Yadong. I was thinking that's a little more on par with, like, okay, you're both still trying to come up, build up a little bit, you know what I mean? Let's see where we go here, because someone has to move forward. Sugar Show, he got the star value. Song Yadong, he's got the true just performance factor right there. I think that'd be a good fight. What do you think?
Going right after Team Alpha Male all day,
right.
Takes out Paiva, then goes for Song Yadong. I think it's a good call, and I'm with the slow roll for the Sugar Show. No matter what, he's fighting on pay-per-view cards. He's going to get that paycheck. You know he's making money. So why not? Why not slow roll it?
That would be 3 Team Alpha Mailers in a row, right? Because he beats Paiva, he mentally defeated Cody Garbrant, and then going after, Song Yadong. So listen, man, Sacramento, watch out. Watch out. I got a lot of love. I'm from Modesto, I got Central Valley love. But Sacramento, watch out, folks. All right, AJ, that's the matchmaking. And let's, just hit a little bit of NEWSWIRE and get out of here, my man. Let's talk about this real fast. UFC flyweight Matt Schnell, he was forced out of his fight against Alex Perez due to medical complications. 5 of his last 7 bouts have been canceled, and Schnell withdrew from 3 of those, and at least 2 of them were due to medical complications at flyweight. Now, he had 3 bouts scheduled with Alex Perez. Each man withdrew from 1, and 1 of them got rescheduled. Now, I have a quote from Matt Schnell soon after that weight cut, and I want to talk about it real fast, my man, because he says, I'm already recovered. Right after I made weight, I took a seat behind the curtains to gather myself. I started drinking my fluids and got bombarded by Nevada State Athletic Commission medical professionals. After they checked my vitals, they were deemed normal. Then a NSAC doctor puts his finger to my neck, says my heart rate is too high, and cancels my fight. Now, note, I just cut weight, so it's likely my heart rate was high. If they came back 10 minutes later, they would have seen I was perfectly fine. My heart is broken. I worked hard for this. I'm a professional. I held up my end of the bargain. End quote. What do you make of that, brother?
Yeah, it's rough because we don't want to see a medical injury, especially something heart-related, go down. You're cutting a ton of weight. You're in one of the most adrenaline-filled instances in your life, performing in front of millions of people. The last thing you want to see is a medical complication or something of that sort. And any cardiac issue at all going forward, it'd be absolutely horrible to the sport. But then the question gets begged, if Sean O'Malley was able to compete where he literally didn't spar for 3 weeks, wasn't able to be taken down, basically a broken rib or bruised rib or whatever it is, and they didn't call that, because that can also have a lot of impact in your health, puncture a lung, something crazy, or even spinal, let's not wish anything upon anybody, but still, you're not going to let one guy fight because you go up and touch his heart rate. Yeah, it's very dangerous, but man, it sucks because you're taking away so much work, so much effort, and not only that, but you're also taking away this dude's money after he already held up his end of the bargain, and all he needed to do was enter that cage to get paid. Rough for Matt Schnell, man. You hate to see it.
But do you think that because he's had a couple medical complications that maybe he should move up a division so we don't even put ourselves in that situation?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be the smart choice, but then you're moving up to a whole new set of complications going forward, man, dealing with power, dealing with just a whole – yeah, it's basically you get the shit end of both sticks on that one.
Yeah, I hear you. It's just interesting to think about, you know what I mean? You just never want to not get paid for that reason. And then but then again, Alex Perez, he missed weight too, so let's not forget that, you know what I mean? He didn't make the weight either. It was only by like a quarter pound or whatever, but nonetheless, be a professional, right? All right, AJ, and these are just a couple of upcoming bouts for the new year for 2022, and then we'll get out of here, my man. Amanda Nunes versus Michelle Waterson is in the works for UFC Fight Night on March 26th. Now, these two were already supposed to fight last year. Bout got canceled. I think Nunes, she got COVID or something that kind of scrapped that one, but it's going to be interesting. They were supposed to fight UFC 257. Oh, actually, Waterson withdrew, so I take that back. I guess I had that wrong. What do you think of that one?
Ooh, that's going to be fun, man. Those are two very, very popular fighters going for the women's division, as well as a couple title contenders. We'll see how it goes, man, but that's going to be an interesting one to mix them up.
Yeah, I will say Waterson needs a win. Bad, man. That strawweight division is up in the air right now, too. And then Muhammad Mokaev, that's how you got to say it, brother. I got to work on my pronunciation. Mokaev, right? He draws Cody Durden for his Octagon debut at UFC event on March 19th. Now, he was calling for Cody Durden. He says, oh, this dude's a racist? He's what? Let me get him in my debut and let me beat the brakes off of him. Listen, man, highly touted prospect. Mokaev, he will get his wish for his Octagon debut. He's originally from Dagestan, Dagestan, but he grew up in England where he became a top wrestler before eventually making the move into MMA. He's nothing short of dominant throughout his young career, racking up a 6-0 record, 4 of those wins by knockout or submission. So I just want to know, what do you make of that? That's a grudge match for UFC debut. So to me, I feel like Makhachev, right? I think that if you're him, you're just putting a little more pressure on your own UFC debut. So I like the call out. I like all of that stuff, but you also have to win. Cody Durden is no slouch, so you have to win. What do you think?
Yeah, I love the call out. I like the fact that he's already creating a narrative, creating that press for himself, going to be going forward. But you just added on a lot of extra pressure, a lot of extracurriculars that didn't necessarily need to be for the UFC debut when those lights are the brightest. Yeah. And you've never seen them before, because Cody Durden is an absolute challenge, even though he does say some funny stuff on the mic that not everybody wants to hear. Now he's going to have to answer for them going forward. And I think Makhachev is the one to get it done. Absolutely, brother. So listen, man, that's the NEWSWIRE. That's what I got for you this week. So move on to the end show, my man. Listen, we got one more bout for the rest of the year, or for all the marbles. That's it, basically. So listen, we still fighting for pride at this point. I still want to close out the year on the last event with a perfect 5-0, 6-0, whatever it's going to be for the main card. Perfect record on that one. We still fighting hard over here, my man. Every single episode, every single event is 0-0 in my head, right? The old school football mentality at halftime is 0-0. You got to get the dub, put the dub on the board. That's how I'm looking at it. Chris Daukaus versus Derrick Lewis, brother. You know we love a Daukaus brother. We love when they get in there, when they fighting, and this is going to be a banger. What better way to close out the year than a heavyweight contest, my man? I don't know. What else can we say? How do you feel about the event, brother? Woo! 2 of my favorite heavyweight fighters going at it for the last fight of the year. You can see it on the poster, 31 combined KOs. And it looks like someone's been listening a little bit to us on this poster review, man. Woo! All right, it's going to be a fun time. Yeah. Woo, I'm excited. Enough
said. So, folks, that's a little bit of foreshadowing and all that good stuff. But I will just say, catch us Mondays and Fridays, 8 a.m. You know what time it is, Bloody Water Podcast. We appreciate the fandom. We appreciate the listenership, the supporting, all of the good stuff. You guys are the best. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. And at this point, man, we'll see you next week, my man. On this is coming up, Monday, Friday, for the preview show, all the good stuff. All right, folks. Until next time. Peace.